epic 10 list.
Here are 10 unsolved mysteries that are both mysterious, creepy, and thought-provoking.
Number 10 on our list is the Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is written in a language that men have tried to decode for centuries. The only clue of its origin are found on the drawings inside of its pages.
Number 9. The Shroud of Turin. The Shroud of Turin is a cloth that has the imprint of a man who suffered severe physical trauma, and his injuries are consistent with one who has endured crucifixion. The origins of the shroud are the subject of intense debate among theologians, historians, and researchers, but many believe that this is the burial cloth that Jesus Christ was buried in. And if it is, the impression on the cloth itself reveals what Jesus would have looked like.
Number 8 is Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper was a serial killer who murdered at least 11 women in London in the late 1800s. Most of his victims were prostitutes, and he would mutilate his victims' bodies beyond recognition. While the identity of Jack the Ripper was never revealed, it was believed that he was educated and of the upper middle class. It was also thought that he was possibly a doctor or an aristocrat.
Number 7 is the WOW signal. In 1977, Jerry Emmon, a volunteer for SETI, which stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, may have been the first human to ever receive a message from an alien world. Emmon was listening to radio waves from deep space with the hope that he would come across a signal that could have possibly come from aliens, and then suddenly he saw something that is still the subject of much scrutiny. The signal that he heard lasted 72 seconds. It was loud and appeared to have been sent from an area that no humans have gone before, near the star called Tau Sagittarii, near the constellation Sagittarius, which is 120 light years away. Emmon wrote the words "wow" on the original printout of the signal, thus its title as the WOW signal. Further attempts to locate the signal again have failed, leading to much controversy and mystery.
Number 6 is the locked door murder. Isidor Fink was an immigrant from Poland who lived in New York City. He was worried about crime in the area, so he always kept the windows nailed shut and doors locked. At 10:30 p.m. on March 9th, 1929, his neighbor, Miss Lachlan Smith, heard intense screaming and the sound of a struggle coming from Fink's home. When police arrived, the door was locked and the windows were nailed shut from the inside. When they gained entry, they found Fink on the ground, shot twice in the chest and once in the left hand. Was Fink shot outside of his home and then walked inside of his home, locking the door behind him? Or did a very small person crawl into his apartment through the small transom window above his front door and then crawl out the same way once they shot Fink? The police chief of New York City cited this as an unsolvable case.
Number 5 is the Tammin Shud case. Thought to be one of Australia's greatest mysteries, the Tammin Shud case is about the death of a man who was never identified who was found dead in December 1948 on Somerton Beach in Australia. Not only could this man never be identified, things became even more mysterious after a small piece of paper was found hidden in his pocket sewn into his pants. The tiny piece of paper had the words Tammin Shud. Tammin Shud translates to finished or ended, and is a phrase used in a collection of poems by Oman Khayyam. Adding to the mystery, a copy of Khayyam's collection was found containing scribbled code believed to have been left by the unidentified deceased man himself.
Number 4 on our list is Bella and the Witch Elm. On April 18th, 1943 in Worcestershire, England, 4 boys playing in the forest found a human skull inside of an elm tree. When police were notified, they found a shoe, wedding ring, a severed hand, and a piece of clothing near the skull. Investigators found that the skull belonged to a woman who was around 35 years old with brown hair and was around 5 feet tall. They estimated that she had died just over a year before she was found. There were no indications that led investigators to believe that she was the victim of disease or physical violence, but her mouth was stuffed with taffeta. It was believed that she died of asphyxiation and then pushed into the hole in the tree shortly after she died. Her body would have had to have been stuffed in the small hole in the tree before rigor mortis set in, as rigor mortis would have made it too difficult to get her body into the tree. That Christmas, graffiti started appearing nearby. The multiple graffiti incidents appeared to be written by the same person, and it asked, who put Bella in the witch elm? 50 years later, we're asking the same question. Who put Bella in the witch elm?
Number 3 is D.B. Cooper. On November 24th, 1971, an unidentified man wearing a white shirt, black tie, and dark suit boarded a Northwest Airlines flight to Seattle. Once airborne, he told the plane's captain that he had a bomb in his suitcase, and he would set it off if he wasn't given $200,000 and parachutes when the plane landed in Seattle. Upon landing, Cooper's demands were met and all the passengers were let off. Now the plane, which contained only Cooper and the plane's crew, took off for Portland. While airborne, he gave each member of the crew $2,000 and then jumped out of the plane into a heavy rainstorm with 21 pounds of $20 bills strapped to his waist. Cooper has never been seen since. Who was this mysterious man? Did he survive or did he perish?
Speaking of mysterious, number 2 on our list is the Washington jelly blobs. In August 1994, clear jelly blobs, approximately the size of a grain of rice, fell at a farm in Oakville, Washington. According to Washington State's ecology scientists, the jelly blobs had once been alive. The lab said that each of the jelly blobs appeared to contain human white blood cells. To this day, no one is exactly certain what caused these jelly blobs to fall from the sky. Some thought it was military biological weapons testing, while others thought it was airplane waste or even jellyfish remains.
Number 1 on our list is the lighthouse keepers of Eilean Mor. The only humans on the Scottish island of Eilean Mor were the 3 lighthouse keepers who were employed at the lighthouse. When a supply ship arrived in 1900 and blew its horn, there was no activity on the island, and it was slightly unusual that the lighthouse keepers had not met them at the dock. A replacement lighthouse keeper was sent to investigate. As he climbed the narrow stairs leading up to the top of the lighthouse, he said he felt a wave of fear come over him. As he approached the door, he noticed that it was unlocked. He noticed the remains of a meal and a chair lying on the floor. The clock in the kitchen stopped working and the lighthouse keepers were nowhere to be seen. Upon further investigation, troubling information came to light. In the lighthouse log, Thomas Marshall, one of the lighthouse keepers, stated that the island had been struck by high winds, worse than any he had ever experienced before. The log entry stated that one of the other lighthouse keepers had been very quiet and the other had intense crying spells. Further on in the logbook, it was written that the storm had lasted for days. The very last entry in the book stated, "Storm ended, sea calm, God is over all." The island that the lighthouse was on was near the island of Lewis. No storms of any kind were reported in the Eilean Mor area during the days noted in the log. Was there a storm, or did the lighthouse keepers lose their minds? Were they possessed, diseased, or something worse?
Hey, thanks for watching Epic 10 List. We make Epic 10 List videos twice a week.
Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to be notified every time we make a new one.